So I'm just kind of sitting out here, bonding with the chickens a little bit, getting them used to me. So this here is our Brahma. I am starting to see a little bit of comb. Pretty sure this is going to be a hen. That rooster in there is getting you all worked up, isn't he? This is our little Belgian new clay. Starting to see a little bit of comb development. Definitely yellow in appearance. I'm not seeing a lot of red, so again, I'm thinking hen on this one here as well. So anytime you have chicks, guys, just come out and spend a little bit of time with them. You want to get them used to being near you. That way, when you go to trim their wings and things, they're not just wild as heck. So I'm looking here at the back of the neck, and the feathers that are forming, like where the cackle feathers are going to be, or the neck feathers, they're rounded rather than pointed. So that's another good indicator. If you're seeing long thistle-shaped feathers toward the back of the neck at this 5, almost 6 week stage, chances are you're going to be having a rooster. What I'm also looking at here is I'm just kind of looking to see how much of the chick down is still on them. There's a little bit on the head still, a little bit here toward the back, but for the most part, pretty well feathered. We're just going to have to keep checking on these guys over the next few days. Even right now, at the stage of what they're feathered out, once we start getting these 55, 60 degree evenings, I will be able to move them out to the coop, which is going to be a lot nicer for them. They outgrow this brood very fast. This brood, I would say, you could keep them for 8 weeks if you only had maybe 4 or 5 of them. And it worked well for the 11 chicks there for a while, but as you can see, my little yellow hen back here starting to roost on everything. She likes to come out and roost up on the top of the lid and just different locations. So if you're keeping your chicks inside of a shed and they get to this age where they're coming out of the brood box, you want to make sure that you check that door. Watch the door as you open it, or your chicken could run outside, and you're going to have a fun time trying to catch them if they're not tame. This one here's my little escape artist. I'm thinking that these, looking at them, I'm really thinking that these, at least this one, is going to be a rooster. I'm seeing not dark red, but quite a bit of pink in the comb. I'm seeing some large wattles on this one. Now, you can't really go by comb size and things like that all the time with your chicks. You're just going to have to wait and see. But I am seeing the neck feathers here, and they're quite a bit pointer. They have a little more point to them than the ones that I'm pretty definite are hens. So I'm about 90% certain this here is going to be a rooster. And just kind of the way it interacts with the other birds, it kind of has a tendency to want to roost above everybody. This one keeps everyone in check. Where you going, buddy? You want back up here? So yeah, and it will go back into the coop on its own, guys. He'll be back here on the ladder and things like that. I'm pretty sure that one's a rooster just by the way he's acting. So this is one of my black astrolorts. This one is you. You are. I'm pretty sure this is the hen. Pretty sure this is the hen. You don't want to face the camera so everybody can see you. So again, I'm looking at the back of the neck feathers. That is about 2 inches below the base of the neck. And I'm seeing a lot of rounded feathers rather than pointed sickle or thistle or whatever you want to call it. You know, depending on what you're reading, they give different descriptions. But if you see the rounded feathers, that's usually an indicator you have a hen. If they're looking really pointed, that's usually a good indicator that you're going to have a rooster. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. This one here has a tendency to like to poop on me when I'm out here. But she does a good job of staying in the brooder. She kind of hangs out with the Brahma, I've noticed. And they all like to pick on that poor Belgian. It's okay, sweetie. So they like to roost in your hand, sit on your leg, do all kinds of weird stuff. Careful. So this one here does not like to roost on my leg. They prefer to grab on my finger. I'm glad he was not on my leg because he just dropped a big poo. So this one here has a lot of chick down still on its head. Yeah, you kind of ruffled up there, baby. Got upset, didn't you? I'm pretty sure this is a hen, just based off the feather structure. We're seeing a lot of rounded feathers up around the neck. Quite a bit of chick down still on this one's neck and the base of its back here. So I'm hoping that these will go ahead and feather out here the next few days. But they do have enough feathers where if it's like 55, 60s, they should be okay. And this may be a rooster. I'm not sure. That this particular breed seems to have a weird comb. So this one here is almost flat in the middle. If you'll turn toward the camera, everybody can see, buddy. But it's very red, and it's raising on the sides, almost like a double comb. So I'm not sure what breed this is. It's still kind of early. But looking at the feathers, I'm seeing a lot of rounded feathers at the neck. So it could potentially be a hen and just a breed I'm not familiar with. So they have like Plymouth Barred Rock and a lot of other breeds that are going to have the black with the gray. Ooh, you almost got me on the foot. But they all seem to enjoy, if you bring them out one at a time, just spend a little time. And each one wants to be held a little different. Like I say, some like to roost on your arm. Some like to stand on your leg. Some prefer to be on your fingers. This one here prefers to be on the fingers. I'm trying to keep my hand clear, though, so I can, if she tries to fly or something, I can get to her pretty quick. Because this one here has not been out of the brood but the one time as far as actually moving around. I've not pulled her out much because she has a tendency. The one time as a chick that I brought her out, she like ran behind the brood and got in behind all this stuff in the shed, and it was really hard to get to her. So I don't know that she would do that again, but I don't really want to risk it. So here's the other chicken. I thought they may be the same breed. It's hard to tell. As you can see, the feather marking on this one is more of long white pinstripes in the feathers. The other one is more of a barred feather pattern with the white and gray. So they may be different breeds. I'm pretty positive this one is a male. I'm seeing very large wattle. I'm seeing very large comb. I'm seeing the pointed feathers toward the base of the neck. I'm starting to see the longer tail feathers coming in here toward the top. And usually that's pretty indicative of a rooster. I do not let this one sit on my leg. This one and that other one that's kind of the black and white mix are just excessive with pooping. Unless you want to get poop all over your legs, you want to learn your birds. They can sit comfortably on your hand, allow them to grip your fingers and things like that. And that just gets them used to sitting on a roost as well. So that's one of the things when I took them outside, I was pleasantly surprised to see that this one and the black rooster that I have, the black Australorp rooster, they went straight in to the coop as soon as I opened the door, and they were roosting on them poles, which really teaches the other chicks what to do. And they were climbing around in there, flying up to the next ledges and stuff. So that's always a great thing to just get them a little practice. I've not put practice roosts inside my box. The reason I did not do that is, as you can see, that we got at least one escape artist. That's the one that I catch. I don't know what these guys are doing in the middle of the night, where they're flying around at. I do know at least one of them's getting out because there will be poop on my ladder. So I'm pretty sure that's that yellow one I had out here earlier. But I'm about 90% positive this one here is a rooster. What is it, buddy? You want back in? Let's go gentle. Here you go. You don't want to jump down? I'll lower you. I'll lower you in. Here you go. There you go. So let's see, where's this other one at here? There she is. Come on, baby. So again, it's still kind of young to be able to tell. And these are guesses, guys. I'm seeing longer feathers here on the neck. The pointed feathers. So again, I'm thinking rooster on this one. It looks like I'm going to have a lot of roosters, which is kind of sad because I was really wanting to keep a lot of hens. But as long as I've got 3 to 4 hens and a good rooster, I'll be happy. That's kind of what I was hoping to keep out of this group. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of checking everybody here. Looking good there, ain't you, buddy? Let's get back down to camera view here. Let everybody see you. So I'm just spending a little bit of time, like I said, for those that are, wanting to see these videos. I just spend a little time with them each day. Bring them out, let them kind of do their thing. You want to clean up the floor when you're done because they're going to be pooping on the floor and stuff. There's only a couple of them. My Brahma and my Duclay I'll actually let sit on my leg. The rest of them are pretty proficient on pooing on you. Especially these little kind of goldish brown ones. And this could be a type of hen, honestly. It's hard to say at this stage with some of the stuff because I do see a lot of rounded feathers in here too. There's too young to be showing saddle feathers, so it's really hard to say at this point. And I know that there are a few breeds out there where, what is it called? The Golden Comet Olive Layer, I think it is, or something like that. And they have really large wattles. They have really tall combs, but they're hens. And they will look a lot like a rooster, just from what I'm seeing in the pictures. So, they say you just kind of, see, that's why I don't let you on my leg. But they say that you can kind of pay attention as they get older and be able to determine probably around the 10-week mark, 8 to 10 week mark. So we're going to give them at least that long. But I'm not going to make any decisions on any of the birds until they're at least 12 weeks old. It gives them time to grow up, get larger, get to, say a butcher weight for the ones we're not going to be keeping that we will be eating. So I just want to make sure that we get a very good readout of who's who and what's what. Are you ready to go back in? Come on, buddy. There you go. Hop off. There you go. Hey, sweetie. I don't think you've been on the camera yet, have you? Okay. Camera shy. That one does not want to come. What is it, buddy? There you go. Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. Calm down. It's okay. I'm seeing a lot of rounded feathers in the neck area here. Again, very tall comb, but this one's a little different. This one's comb is more of a yellow color than the pink going into red. It does have a little pink toward the base. We're not seeing very large wattles yet. You're okay, I'm not going to do nothing to you. Guess you want to go back in with everybody, huh? It's playtime in there. There you go, buddy. So yeah, guys, so I'm hoping you're enjoying the videos. We have raised this light up. It is about 5.5 feet So tonight I will have to be checking on these guys. It's not really putting a lot of warmth down in the brooder. It's more ambient air up top. So I'll be checking to make sure that these guys are plenty warm tonight. Make sure that they're huddling properly and things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing the next 2 days, because it's going to be 31 tonight and 32 tomorrow. And as long as these chicks seem to be doing good as far as being able to regulate their temperature, they should be ready to go outside by Tuesday. Now, I will be keeping the light on for the ambient temperature in here to keep it probably around the 45 mark. If I have to, I can lower that light back down if they start getting cold. So always make sure that you keep your heat source active when you're acclimating your chicks. That way you can lower it into position if you see that they're getting cold. And the way you're going to determine that is if you see them huddling together very tight and dogpiling on each other, then you're going to know that it is too cold inside the brood and you need to lower the lights. Now, during the day, I typically turn this light off for them. I left it open out here because I wanted to get them out and kind of do some of the videos. We do have a pretty big nip in the air. It's about 42 degrees right now outside, and it's dropping pretty quick. So I just want to make sure it's plenty warm in here for them to come out and show you on some of these videos what's going on. But it is high enough where it's not really affecting them down in the brood. But I hope you're enjoying the videos, guys. I'm trying to come up with a schedule of when to release certain types of videos and stuff like that. I don't want to overdo it with like the chicken, just kind of how I did with the quail and the bees. But I was building playlists and stuff. So as these guys go outside, our videos will be more encompassing all things, which will be coming out tending the quail and the chickens and our bees and our gardens and stuff. So it's going to include a lot of content to some of the videos. But there will be specialized videos for specifically the garden, specifically the chickens and the quail and the bees and things like that. So that was one thing that I wished I had done a video on, but it was still pretty chilly and I wanted to get it done pretty quick. I had checked my hives and I had one swarm, or one hive had actually swarmed, and they did not leave a queen or any bees or anything. They just took off. And so I checked my other hive and they were creating swarm cells. For those of you who don't know what a swarm cell is, that is where they are building a queen. They'll build several queens. They'll leave part of the bees behind, and the old queen will leave with half of the hive typically. Sometimes with all of the hive is what happened in that other situation. But you will take and do what they call a split. You will take your old queen with bees and move her with a few frames over to another hive. And it works out really well if you already have some honeycomb or some comb built in there, and they will take straight to that. And you leave your swarm cells with half of the bees in there, and they are building their own queen. So that queen, come spring, she's going to come and leave the hive periodically, typically 2 or 3 times, and she will actually fly around above the hives and mate with a drone, and then come back and start laying. So it's still a little cold, a little windy for that queen to come out, but they were already building a queen, and if I did not get ahead and stay on top of that, you could potentially lose all your hives, and that's a serious situation. So I actually have, let's see, we got one that's completely still in the box, and then I've got another hive that is assembled, ready to go. And my plan with that is to go out on the Florida trails. And last year when I went out, I ended up finding some wild swarms. So I'm planning to go out, and I have some of these carriers here. This is what my bees actually shipped in. This is what my bees shipped in. These are perfect if you're going to go catch you a wild swarm. So this lid comes off. I have some queen excluders, and I will take my bee suit. I will take a queen excluder, and I will take one of those out when I go hiking up into the trails. They will be in my backpack. And if I find a wild swarm, I can find the queen, put her in the excluder, hang her inside that with the top off, and the bees are naturally going to go into that little trap there, or carrier, and when it starts to fill up, just slide the lid closed and install them into my hive here. And then you give about 2 to 3 days with the queen inside the hive, okay? or inside the excluder. That way she doesn't go ahead and swarm off. And those bees, they will feed her, they will tend her while she's in the excluder, and they will start to build inside the hive. Now I have about 4 deeps that actually have comb in them, so I can pull a couple of uh, trays out, or a couple of those little sections of comb out, and place them in, which is going to make those bees accept that box a little bit. So what I'm looking at doing is if I can find a decent swarm, I want to add one more hive, and it's going to go up to the front part where the garden's at. We're not going to be right on top of the garden, but we will be close enough to garden for our pollinators to reach the garden. So it's kind of our plan. Those are some things to think about if you're going to be doing gardening and things like that in your backyard. It does not, as long as you do not have any kind of county regulation saying you cannot have bees or you cannot have certain types of animals, or large gardens and things like that, you can reach a level where maybe you're not sufficient to a point where you're selling crops, but you're going to seriously offset the cost of what you're having to pay on groceries. A lot of people don't want to get outside and do that. Uh, I can be lazy. I'm not going to lie, guys, but I've done a lot of hard work for a lot of different companies and stuff, corporate level work, the grunt work down at the bottom, and things like that. And what I've learned is if I took just half the energy, just half of what I would do in those jobs, I could be successful in just supporting myself, feeding myself, breeding quail, selling quail, things like that. It doesn't take much, and you can make you some cash on that if that's something you're looking at doing later. Now, is it enough where you can leave your job? That's going to depend on how large of an area you have to deal with, but it can add money so you can start focusing on buying preps, or you can take that cash and you can save it back for buying you some property somewhere in the country where you can do this. So nothing ever happens overnight. That's what people need to understand. I didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I want honeybees and quail and chicken, and boom, it happened overnight. It didn't work that way. I decided to do the bees, and because I like the honey, and I got to researching around, and that's like, quail sound like they'd be pretty interesting. So I did a lot of research. Before you just jump into something, research it a lot, see if it's going to be for you. If you have a doubt in your mind from an aspect of, I probably ain't going to want to deal with these guys, then I wouldn't recommend it. But if it's just an aversion to, I don't really know much about this, uh, quail are a very forgiving animal as long as you're getting them food and you're getting them water, and you keeping them in a pen safe away from predators. They're going to do their own thing. You can't really go wrong with that. Now, chickens, on the other hand, you can feed them, you can water them. If you do not protect a chicken, they are on the ground. A little different than having a raised quail pen. They're on the ground. There's a lot more predators that can go, and get to them and things like that. So you have to really pay attention to how you build your coops and your runs. And for the most part, the run is finished. The coop is 100% done. The run, there's a couple more things I want to do to it. Don't really have to do to it, but I'm going to be installing more hardware mesh that's going to encompass the entire cage, the top, the bottom, and everything else. And it's welded wire. I'll probably go with a 1/2 inch. It's a little more expensive than a quarter, but it's a little bit thicker gauge. And I'm going to do that on that entire run out there. And that's going to finish off predator proofing. It's got 3-foot wire straight down. It's got 3-foot wire across the ground. It's going to have wire that's going to come all the way around the outside. It's going to have wire on the top of the roof as well. And it's just going to really have a little bit extra cost, but I'm not going to have to be replacing chickens. So if you look at it from an aspect, how expensive is it to get into chickens? Well, you can go buy some chickens right now for $3 a piece for, say, a pullet. Now, if you get an unsexed chicken and you just buy them, they're usually about $2 at a Tractor Supply or your hardware store and things like that. And you're going to put a lot of effort into it, and you're looking at probably 6 to 8 months before they start laying. But if you don't take the legwork to secure where they're going to be housed, you're going to end up getting them up to where they can go outside, and as soon as you set them out there, a predator's going to come in, and you're going to have to start all over. So yes, it costs a little bit of money, but if you do it right, it's an initial cost, and you can potentially get to a point where you're breeding your chickens you're selling chickens, you're selling eggs. There's a lot of stuff that you can really benefit from this. You're creating a free source of fertilizer for your gardens. So what these guys will do when I do my garden at the end of the year and everything's done, I will pull out like tomato plants and things like that because they are considered the nightshade family. I will not let my chickens eat that. But as far as my squash and cucumbers and different things like that, collards and things that are left out there, they're going to go into a chicken run that is mobile, a chicken tracker if you want to call it that. And they're going to come in. I'm going to move them over to the garden area, and they're going to eat everything that's left over from the garden. And while they do that, they're going to be, fertilizing the soil as they go. This will be at the end of the planting season when all the crops have come in, and they will fertilize the ground, and then they will go back to the run when they're finished with that, and all that's going to get tilled in, and it'll probably get covered this year just to help with the weed issues that you can have, and it's going to help for next planting season. So that's something to think about. Is it worth it for the free fertilizer? Is it worth it to be able to mend your soil and things like that? I think that it is. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I've been looking at maybe getting into meat rabbits. I'm on the fence about it, not because I don't think I can take care of them, but they're just they're okay. We raised them growing up, and I'm just not real big on rabbits. I mean, I'm really not. They just there in the pen doing their thing. You can create a run for them to go out on the yard and stuff, but unless you're getting a pretty hardy breed, there's a lot of disease and things like that can happen with those. Speaking of disease, if for those who are still watching this video, right now there is I believe it's called the H5N1 that is here on the East Coast. So you may actually find it hard to find chicks this year. They're culling hundreds of thousands of birds and eggs and chicks right now because they don't want this to spread. That is a bird influenza. It can be passed on to people. People can pass it to birds and things like that. So I'm going to be rethinking some of my plans out here, guys. So think about this. You could have a blue jay or something like that is carrying this H5N1. And if your chickens are free ranging the backyard and they come in contact with any kind of bird that is carrying that, it's going to decimate your flock. Now, having a covered run that keeps flying birds and predators and things like that out, that's going to help have a level of quarantine where it's not going to be as prevalent of a issue, but you still have to watch. So something to think about going into spring this year, guys, is they're not joking around with this. I mean, they're slaughtering off entire flocks. They had a thing, if you want to go read up on it, Tyson was giving a statement, and they said that their frozen chicken products to expect probably a 35% drop in supply by April. So that's something to think about for those of you who like to eat poultry, eat chicken meat and things like that, because it is cheaper than say steak. Uh, those prices are going to be going up, I'm sure, mainly because of this influenza stuff that's going around and it's killing the flocks. So now would be the time if you're going to get into it to try and source some chicks. Maybe you need to find a local breeder that you know is healthy breeds and things like that, and start getting your flocks, because if you think it's the stores are limited on what they're carrying now, or the price is too high now, imagine 3 months from now it's going to be even worse. So everyone have a great weekend. Just keep an eye on what's going on with Ukraine. Be praying for our brothers and sisters in Christ across the world. There are people who are in prison now. They're being beaten. They are becoming martyrs, dying for their faith. So we need to continue to intercede for them guys as well. Have a great weekend.